Welcome back to Small Caps, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Kerry Stevenson, and I've asked Dr. Gerard Dyson, Managing Director of Specter, to come back and have a chat with us today. Now, we've spoken in the past. The ASX code is SP3. Specter are a solar security sensing and a visual AI platform. It's really interesting because what they do is, I guess it's security with a difference. If you want to know more about the details of the company, because I don't want to waste too much time on that today, go and check out the conversation I had with Gerard on the Small Cap platform a few months ago. But today, I've asked him to come back on and talk about their recent placement as well as the upcoming SPP, which is closing shortly, some of the additional things that they're doing, some of the possible challenges that are facing the market in these times of wars in Ukraine. This is security. It's an interesting part of the market. Gerard, good to see you. Thanks for coming back to Small Caps.
Nice to see you again, Kerry. Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure.
Well, let's start, if you wouldn't mind. You've recently done a placement, I think raising close to 2 million. I want to ask you about the timing of that, what that funds are going to be doing, and also you've got an SPP, a share placement, which is closing, I believe, on the 3rd of August. Let's just talk about the reasons behind that. What have you raised and why?
Yeah, so last week we closed our placement at, I think, $1.862 million, which was a little bit more than we were looking for, but not a lot, which would suggest that we priced it about right. And then now we're in a securities purchase plan as well, because we want to make sure our existing shareholders have an opportunity to participate. I mean, these funds are very much around positioning us for growth, and also really positioning to take us through to positive earnings as well. We have a very clear use of funds that we've described in the placement and the SPP documents, and we're deploying them in a way that we believe takes us on those steps to milestones to profitability in the near term.
So talk to us about the use of those funds, because the SPP closes on the 3rd of August 2022. Just in case you're watching this in September, it's closed. However, there's a brief window, as you probably are listening to this, to get involved if you're a shareholder in the SPP, which is closing, as I said, on the 3rd of August. Use of those funds and...
Yes. Yes. Yeah. So the core uses at the moment are, the core uses as we deploy them will be, we're going to hire additional salespeople and build out our sales channel in Australia. So we already are present on the East Coast and in WA, but we want to fill in the gaps. We want to fill in South Australia. We want to fill in Northern Territory and some regional centres as we move towards market domination. So that's one. The second one, what we're looking for is doing some additional engineering on our core product. This is not to change it. It's not to modify its functionality. We've already got proven customer product market fit with what we do today. More than 600 active customers, more than 2,500 systems deployed. What we're trying to do from an engineering point of view is make the product more scalable. So we can build it and manufacture it at scale, and we can make it more modular. So more plug and play and a little bit less screwdriver and soldering iron, to give the analogy. And that means that we can push it out into locations further from our core offices and have resellers and other parties buy, sell, assemble and support it. And that allows us to really scale the business up. The last part of what we're doing is really around marketing. So we're doing some additional marketing support to help the business to scale. And then we're also looking at doing a market entry strategy into additional markets, particularly the US. So what is the work that we need to do over the next 12 months and up to prepare ourselves for an international expansion? Today, we're focused on market domination in Australia. Tomorrow, we know it's around the corner. If we don't do our prep now, we'll delay that opportunity later.
You mentioned the actual components themselves. Right now, where we've got challenges globally, the supply chain issues, I would envisage that your product has a chip in it, I guess, would it? It's AI. And there are challenges with some of this supply chain. Is that affecting you guys in order to get this product to market?
Yeah, well, Kerry, the chips are not just on my shoulder. They're actually in our product as well.
Very good, very good.
Yeah. So seriously, I mean, we have a core element of hardware, but we also have a lot of software, both on our systems and in our cloud, that is part of the integrated Specter offering. But to answer your question more directly, absolutely. The last 24 months have been a real challenge for anyone who builds electronics. And we do build our core hardware from componentry. The way that we have dealt with that very real challenge has been to use our in-house engineering capabilities to build our technology from what is available. So if we've not been able to get this power regulator, we'll buy an alternative, we'll re-engineer for that. If we can't get that particular semiconductor or that chip, we'll get another and we'll reprogram our embedded software and we'll do that. So we've been able to flex, and customers have been able to continue to get service from us without even noticing the challenges that we've had. Going forward, we have spent, and part of our use of funds as well, that I did leave off, was increasing our inventory levels a little as we, effectively store the core components that we believe could be in demand over the next 18 to 24 months to ensure that we have a guaranteed ability to supply those. So it's not everything. We don't have to stock up because we don't buy things from other people. We just buy little components. We're just buying the little pieces that we need, whether it's semiconductors, power regulators, single board computers, and we're stocking those so that we're able to keep the supply and we can fill the rest in.
Okay, so the supply chain that other people like car manufacturers may have doesn't affect Specter at this stage, and you don't see that as being an issue in the future?
It has affected us, but we have mitigated that risk. And because we have the in-house engineering and because we have the flexibility with our platforms, we have mitigated that risk to the extent that our customers don't see it.
All right, you talked before, and I think the last time we spoke, Specter basically started in WA, if I remember correctly, and the majority, when I last spoke to you, I believe the majority of your customers were in WA. How are you going to rebalance that? And I guess you spoke about marketing before, and I'm from an investor point of view, I'm trying to have a look at it and say, how are you going to build this out and be less WA centric, or is there still a lot of growth to be had in WA so you can do them at the same time? Do you see where I'm getting at with this?
Yeah, no, you're right. And it's, it's a vicious challenge, really, Kerry, is that no matter how much we grow the other states, WA keeps growing as well. And so we have to deal with the fact that Specter's accessible market is not like it's a pie or a packet of chips that, all the seagulls are eating out of. There are many packets of chips that haven't been opened yet. And so, we have brought WA down from more than half the business to sitting at about 40% of the business today. And that's not because we brought it back. It's because the efforts that we've put into building East Coast and into New Zealand are growing for us now as well. So, we are, at the moment, we think we have about $2.5 million in WA. If you just were to scale that across the rest of Australia on a population basis, and we see that coming up now, we've done it by putting in salespeople, and we've done it by putting in a service ability, and we've been pushing a digital marketing and other marketing into other states, and they're coming up. And they're certainly growing at a faster rate than WA is at the moment, because we're sort of moving up into the different places on that curve. We expect to just continue that model that we've done in the past that has seen that growth into the places that we're not at the moment. We've proven it in Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne, now Auckland. They're all at different stages, and Perth's here at the moment. So the model's working.
Was New Zealand a test case for going internationally, and how was that if it was a test case, how was it? How's it going, and what's the penetration like for New Zealand?
Oh, so, absolutely. It has been the best place for us to learn how we would support a technology in another geography. And we've been very fortunate that our joint venture partner there has worked with us on this. We are a majority owner of that business, but, we have learned a lot about supplying, and we've learned a lot of the things that are going into the engineering that we're planning to do with the use of funds now, about making it simpler to put together when you don't have our core expertise nearby. That pipeline in that business has grown, many orders of magnitude, particularly over the last 6 or 8 months, as now we have full-time sales before we had part-time sales. And we've got, a very substantial pipeline in front of us at the moment. And, I'm very excited about the future and hoping to talk a bit more about New Zealand over the next 6 to 12 months as some of that pipeline starts to flow through as well. But yeah, we've learned very effectively, very cost effectively, and I think that those lessons are going to be very effective as we push into other geographies.
Is that going to be the plan for other geographies, to do a joint venture with different people in different countries around the world? And how scalable and easy is it to do that?
So that's absolutely one of the options. But I don't want to preempt how we will enter in other places yet. We are planning to do as part of our use of funds is a market entry strategy. So looking at, do we go in with an acquisition or a joint venture or through reseller arrangements? Do we put our own people in there? Do we do some combination of those things? We really want to do our research there and also identify the geographies that we want to be in and the core offerings that we want to provide. So we believe that the time and the money spent planning very carefully, testing it very carefully, and then going in incrementally will ensure that we deliver a very good return on invested capital rather than just spraying it around, trying to do too many things without enough planning. So to be absolutely sure, the immediate term for us is market domination in our current markets of Australia and New Zealand. We've got that footprint. That's an easy money. It's a low-hanging fruit. But, you overlap the Horizon 1 and Horizon 2 and Horizon 3. We're starting the planning now for the next horizons, so we maintain that growth trajectory. We may have only done just under 6 million this year of revenue, but I'm planning for what does 10 and 20 and 50 and 100 look like as we hit that that inflection point in the curve. And that little bit of engineering, which enables us to go from being fully in-house, fully vertically integrated business to one that you can use reseller channels effectively, which is about making it simple and modular, that's going to have a big inflection point on it. And then we're off to the races, and both in revenue increasing rapidly, but also capital intensity decreasing. I get excited when I talk about it.
Which is great. And, our community out there want to know that. But talk to us about the numbers. Quarterly cash flow report is out. Talk to us. We've got investors, our community out there love the numbers because what they're looking at is what's the value proposition, what's the investment thesis around Specter right now?
Yes, so we put out our quarterly cash flows yesterday. I think it showed we had about 6 quarters of working capital in front of us. So, you'd say, well, why are we doing a raise now? I think we really want to put the accelerator down and do those fundamental foundational things around the engineering, in particular, building up the sales platform that really set the foundation for that inflection point. In terms of performance, the business in the last 2 years has had 3 quarters where we've generated positive cash. We've had positive EBITDA months. The business is very close to being consistently cash flow generating. I think our operating cash flows were $248,000 for the last quarter. So it's an $80,000 something burn rate. It's not much. And when you consider it's a business that's fully vertically integrated, we design, we write our own software, we manufacture locally, we have our own sales channels, our own service and installation channels across 6 cities, and we're ASX listed, and we're still so close to being cash flow positive. The very, very healthy gross margins in our business make that attractive. I mean, I think we just put out 3.33 million. More than half of our business is very high gross margin, 70% gross margin recurring revenue. $3.33 million recurring revenue. I'll say it again. It's at 70% gross margin, very attractive and growing. At a very attractive rate as well. So. Oh, I've gone off track.
No, that's okay, because what was coming into my mind as you were talking there was, is there a barrier to entry? Because this is software, it's security, and I would have thought, given where we are, I guess, whether you want to call it in the cycle, but, you're in the securities business, but you're in that sort of security at a distance. It's very clever, but why couldn't somebody else come in and take your lunch, so to speak?
Well, so I think probably since we've spoken, Specter's evolved a bit. We're actually a little bit more than just security. We're about making communities safer. And
Yes.
so there's two ways to answer that question. One is the market is growing. People are feeling less safe. And that we're seeing both increased crime as economic conditions start to come down. There is more theft. The supply chains driving that. We're also seeing increased perception of risk from a personal harm point of view. We see that with the constant media diet of floods, bushfires, crimes, you name it. So perceived risk and real risk is going up there. So both of those two market drivers are driving people to want to address that visibly and in reality. And our systems, provide a solution to that. So we see that what we have is really quite counter-cyclical. If things get difficult, they actually get better for us in terms of market demand.
But what about somebody else coming in and grabbing your lunch?
Yeah, sorry, thank you.
I've decided I'm going to set up Specter, 1.2.
Yes. Well, good luck with that, because we've spent a bit of time looking at, no disrespect intended, we have more than 20 million hours of field trials and active deployment of our systems in the market. And so the hardware, software, cloud platform that's fully integrated in our systems has become, as part of the evolution of all of that time. And whilst you may choose to come in and try and build your own version of that, you could probably get to an 80% solution within a year with a team of people. But it's that last 20% that makes the difference between something that works properly and not. It's taken us tens of millions of hours to refine that. And right now, no one's even trying. If you look across the market, it's a world filled with flip phones, and we have got the only smartphone. And it's because it's difficult.
Yeah, but then the smartphones came in, and the first smartphone, Steve Jobs, and there are lots of smartphones. But I guess Steve Jobs he's still got a good bit of the pie, I guess.
Well, Steve doesn't have much now, because other than Daisy's pushing out of him. But what I would say is that Apple continues to be the most profitable business in that space, even though it's not the largest. And Specter, we see ourselves as a premium offering that's at the more advanced end of the market, and that's certainly what our customers please as well. That's why we work for people like Optus. It's why we work. We are almost the sole provider that's providing these sorts of solutions on the perimeters of Department of Defence bases. It's why we are with the largest construction contractors. We've got 49 local government authorities, state government authorities. The fact that our system is sophisticated, can be integrated into their systems, and has no security issues, because we take it from the data from the camera sensor, and it's our hardware and our software and our local Australian cloud. We can go on a federal government base and no one else can, because they're just buying a solar camera from China or from Europe, and they cannot guarantee the security of the data. No one else can do that in the way that we can.
Love that. Just quickly, because we are running out of time, one of the things I want to ask you, that Optus contract, last time we spoke, you just got awarded that. How's it going?
Yeah, so I think the numbers that I published at the start of this month were 102 systems deployed. I think we're at 108 systems deployed. There's more that are coming out now. I think this is a thin edge of a much larger wedge. We are, I can't say too much about the detail operationally about how Optus are choosing where they're going to put things, because obviously security is an issue. But we continue to see growth in that model, and not just with that customer, with other customers as well. I was
going to say, other telcos coming to you, and there's a major competitor to Telstra out there. I mean, is that a part of the market that is growing for Specter?
So there are, there's something like 21,000 phone towers in Australia. We've got 108 of them covered right now.
Oh, wow.
There are people that, Telstra, for example, and there's tower owning companies. There's a whole suite of them. And, it would not be unreasonable to think that we might be talking to some of those people as well. But, until we've got a sale announced, I'm not going to say too much more on that one.
That's fine. You just said there's 21,000 towers in Australia alone, and you've got 108. Do you think that there's a tipping point where it goes from, look, it's taken us a while to get to 50. It took a while. We're getting up that hill to 100. Is there a tipping point where you suddenly go 108, 112, and then it's like 150, 200, 500, and Specter is off and running, not just in Australia, but globally.
That's exactly what's happening. And it's not happening just at the scale of mobile phone towers. It's happening with beach warning systems. We had a handful, and now we've got 33. And within a few months, we'll have more than 50, and then probably 90 plus by the end of the year. It's in AI platforms, very nascent at the moment. That will start small. It's almost a story of every one of our customers. Because we are making this market to a large extent, they will come in and they'll rent one or two, and then they'll buy 3, and then 5, and then 10, and then 20, and then 50, and then 100. And that's how our business looks at the moment. Is we are taking people that are mildly, willing to take a small risk, and then we're moving them rapidly along that Moore's curve into being early majority type of that crossing the chasm stuff, where we grow rapidly, and we're converting our customers along the way. I mean, account management is a huge part of our business now. We've got more than 600 customers. They're all sitting somewhere between I'm renting one through to I've got more than 100. And as we drag them, as they come willingly, along that journey with us. And that's why I mentioned before, like the groundwork that we're doing in planning for additional market expansion. This is not a business that has this is not a consumer business. This is business to government and business to business. And the sort of customers, the institutional level customers that we're chasing now, they don't buy tomorrow. They take their time. And so we are planting, and we have been planting for 2 years. And so the pipeline that we have today of more than 10 million, which, by the way, is more than double what it was at the end of June 2021, is a product of laying that groundwork. And these are very, very sticky, long-term institutional customers with huge amounts of headroom.
You're excited. Before I get into my final 3 points, which everyone knows that I like to ask, Gerard, do you think that this potential, look, I don't want to put words, and you don't have to answer this if you don't want to, but this recent raising, do you think as you go into growth and profitability that you won't need to raise again? It's an important point for investors and potential investors.
Well, the inherent conservative person in me generally tries to shy away from that question. But yeah, I've absolutely said it. Our plan shows us getting to positive earnings on the back of this raising. We've got a model, we've got a plan, and we are executing on that plan. And we feel very confident that plan is doable. None of it involves a cure for cancer. So this could be your last opportunity to come in, and you'll talk to your kids about how you got in at Specter at 3.6 cents, and now as you're sitting on your yacht in well, let's take that back a little bit and go do your own research, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you go and check out the website. You can always ring up Gerard and ask him any sorts of questions you'd like. He's always said to me he's open for people to come and call him. He is very busy though, so don't ask him questions that are obvious. Re-listen to this interview first. Finally, let's wrap this up with a final 3 reasons why our community out there should be sitting up and taking notice of Specter right now. All right. Well, there are so many more than 3 reasons, but if I've only got 3, Gary. So the first one is we are unique. We have effectively got the first smartphone in a world filled with flip phones. It's a fully programmable device. No one else has got one. So that's 1. We've got a unique offering. 2, right in front of us today, we have a pipeline of more than 10 million, which is more than double the pipeline that we had a year ago.
That's a good point.
Which speaks to near-term substantial growth. We're very pregnant with opportunities that are going to drop. So right now, we've got growth in front of us. And 3, when you look into the future, just look at what we're doing in WA. We've got nearly $2.5 million that we're doing in revenue from 2.5 million people. There's 7 billion people in the world. Do the math.
What a great way to finish. Very good. I like those. I like them a lot, actually. Gerard, it's always a pleasure to speak to you. Come back on. I think we left it. There was a bit too much of a gap. I think you should come back on in a few months' time and talk to us about that growth, and we'll grill you on those numbers and see how that pipeline's growing over the next quarter. Right. For the moment, thanks so much for joining us on Small Caps today and updating the market. Cheers.
My pleasure. Goodbye.